Hi everyone, I'm Kathi Powers, the superintendent with the Twinsburg City School District. Welcome to Twinsburg Schools Today. Well, we're in the middle, or actually at the very beginning, of the second semester of this school year. It's hard to believe the first semester is now in the books, and now we move forward into the second semester. And there are so many wonderful things going on in our school district, but like every other school district in the nation, our school district is still working under many restrictions with regard to the pandemic caused by COVID-19. In the middle of all of that are our students, and the fact that we are paying attention to their social emotional needs and making sure that they get plenty of care so that they can maneuver through this very interesting school year. So today my guests that will help address this are our two assistant principals. One is from RB Chamberlin Middle School. This is Lisa Moore, and you'll meet her in a few minutes. But first, I want to welcome Mrs. Iwanda Huggins. Welcome.
Well, thank you for having me.
Absolutely, and you are one of the assistant principals
Yes.
at George G. Dodge Intermediate School.
Absolutely. I work mainly with sixth graders and fifth graders, but I welcome those fourth graders as well.
There you go. So I introduced you as the assistant principal at Dodge.
Yes.
But this is a year where you're really not at Dodge. Do you care to explain that a little bit to those members of our community who are not quite sure what has been going on with our reconfiguration?
Absolutely. We're actually in the process of working at the high school. Working at the high school allowed our students to come on campus and for us to deliver a great education to them in a safe way, because we were able to provide that safe distance for them. And right now, again, we're working at the high school, and we have the privilege of also working there with Bissell. So that has been a wonderful partnership.
Many children at the high school.
Absolutely.
You know, when we launched the idea of reconfiguring the district to ensure the 6 feet social distance piece, I think some of our parents and the staff and even the residents thought, what is that school district doing? But I can tell you that it's working.
It is.
And I'm so proud of the fact that our students from kindergarten through the 6th grade are with us every day of the week, and then grades 7 through 12 come every other day of the week. But there have been so many adjustments that all of our students have had to encounter this year. So I want to talk a little bit about that today during our show, and your perspective as assistant principal, because I think that you work so closely with the kids and their parents that you have a really good idea what's going on. With regard to the social emotional piece for our students. So if you think back to the beginning of the year, fast forward through winter break, now we're in the second semester. Mr. Holland, your building principal, and Ms. Gates, the other assistant principal at your building, have worked really hard to build a sense of community. So what are some of the positive things with regard to the reconfiguration that we've done this year due to the pandemic?
Well, I tell you, there's so many, and I would like to first say I am proud of our staff, from our custodial team to our secretaries. They have made this work. Our students have been phenomenal. But trying to make this a home away from home has been a challenge, but it's been something we've tackled, and I think we've done very well. Number one, the communication that we've been able to have with the high school. Fortunately, it's already in pods. We're new to that, but I'm quite sure our high school people have already been aware of it. But what is allowed is to almost run 3 schools within a school. Our fourth graders are in the pod with their guidance counselor and principal. Our fifth graders are in pods with their guidance counselor, and principal, and so are the sixth graders. So what that allows us to do is to get to our students, be there for them in a more intimate way, in a smaller way, so that we're there each and every day. It's allowed us to get to know them. It's also allowed the staff and teachers in those pods to work so well with each other. Now, we have our building, but we also there with Bissell. What I am enjoying is just the camaraderie of being with another school, reaching out to them, getting to know their students, because they're going to be with us next year, and this has been great to be able to know them and learn their names and learn who they are and what they're about. It has really created a sense of unity and teamwork.
And we were worried about that, because when you take a group of students, being the Dodge students, there were 900 students last year at the Dodge campus, and now you transfer them to the campus of Twinsburg High School, plus about 600 and some second and third graders, and you put them under the same roof. It took a while to really begin to have this feel of a well-oiled machine.
I tell you, and I'll be honest, we were nervous about that. This was new. This was new for teachers, new for us. But it provided us being together on this one campus. Again, I can't reiterate in communication. Working with Mrs. Johnson and her team, being able to sit down and conquer challenges together, being able to support one another, being able to utilize our resources together has really been beneficial, I think, for students and staff.
You know, and I heard from Mrs. Johnson, it's been nice to be under the same roof with her former students.
Yes.
You know, so there's a sense of one big family as we work under an environment where the masks are required and the hand sanitization, and the most important piece being the 6 feet social distance.
Absolutely.
So lots of positives with regard to the reconfiguration for our 2nd through the 6th grade band. If you think back about some of the challenges, when you have that many kids under one roof and 2 very different staff members or groups of staff members, clearly there had to have been some challenges you had to work through. Can you explain what some of those might have been?
I think for us, challenges as far as actually reaching all of our students, especially our students who weren't on campus with us.
Sure, virtual.
Our virtual kiddos, and trying to keep them engaged and redirecting our resources to help them in a different way, as well as our families. We have things in place such as positive behavior intervention and supports, and we knew how to work that on campus like clockwork. But now, okay, it's readjusting. How do we do this when our students aren't here every single day with us physically? And that proved to be a big challenge for us.
Did you find that you had to really rethink everything?
Yes.
I think one of the lessons, or as we've moved forward in this year, what we've recognized is decisions that were so easily made before, because the work of the school, although it's different by season, by quarter, by semester, you were pretty confident you knew what was coming next. But with this pandemic, every decision we make has to be looked at several different ways. And I bet even more so at the building level.
Absolutely. Even as far as, you know, little simple things. We love, under our positive behavioral support program, showing attention to those students who are doing very well. And we go around and we give high fives and we make phone calls and we have assemblies. And now, okay, none of that can happen. So how do we readjust ourselves so that we can still show that same level of support to our students? So a lot of those things had to go virtually, and we had to learn how to videotape or use Flipgrid or utilize the technology that was in front of us so that we still could reach out to our children. And then on top of that, some of our children may not have had the same resources at home. And I think our district has done an excellent job with making sure those one-on-one Chromebooks are in their hands and ready to go. Our tech department has been phenomenal with making sure we can reach home and get to them in those ways that are new to us right now.
I think the pandemic, one of the silver linings is fast forwarding the whole effort with regard to instructional technology.
Absolutely.
I think we would never have dreamed of being where we are had we not had to do all of these things virtually and figure out ways to reach students, especially our virtual academy kids.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I guess that's my next question, Iwanda. So you talked about the sense of community. We have these 2 big pockets of students under one great big roof at Twinsburg High School on the main campus. But we also have kids that are at home learning virtually. And distant from us. I know we have teachers assigned to them, they're classroom teachers, so teachers working every day with the same group of children. What kinds of measures are in place, though, to make sure that our virtual academy kids feel connected to the bigger group of students on campus?
Excellent. I want to pull in, number one, our district's work and having us with Beachbrook, which is the social work program that we have on campus. With Beachbrook and our school counselors, we work really hard to keep connected to our students. Our counselors are reaching out and keeping track of how many times students are on camera, if they haven't been seen, if teachers haven't seen them or had contact with them. We're keeping track of all of those nuances, and we work as a team. We meet weekly and discuss those students who may be struggling or who may be having great success. We reach out to them through our guidance counselors or through our administrative team. I know that Mr. Holland, Ms. Gates, and I are consistently jumping in on those Google Classrooms and in those Google Classrooms to check in on students, so that at least if we're not there physically, they see our faces. They know we're part of their team.
So do we find that the attendance of our virtual kids is pretty good then?
It really is overall.
Good, good.
Overall, I mean, of course, with anything, we have those nuances of things that we have some areas of struggle, but overall, when you consider everything that we've asked students to do in these last few months and families to do, I think they're doing pretty well despite everything.
That's good to hear.
Right.
So as we kick off the second semester, lots of excitement, you know, new assignments. Some students have transitioned back onto campus. Some students have transitioned out to the world of Virtual Academy. I know that there have been concerted efforts to make sure that no matter what option our parents have selected for their child, that in both cases that the children are feeling comfortable and confident in this new setting for them potentially.
Absolutely.
Can you offer some advice to our families as they move forward into the second semester? What are some things that mom and dad can do to help support school as we know it today?
I know this sounds so simple, but I think one of the main things parents could do is to understand where they've come from and what they've done. Again, this has been a tumultuous situation for all of us, but especially our moms and dads who may be wondering where their next paycheck is coming from or stressed about things of that nature. So the first piece of advice I would have for them is to give themselves a pat on the back. Take care of themselves, because they can't pour from an empty cup.
Right.
We need that support from them, okay? Second is they're not alone. You, as well as our Board of Education, has done a great job with giving us the resources we need to help. So reach out to your teacher, reach out to your administrator, reach out to the counselors. We're there to help you. We can sit down, we can work as a team, we're willing to help. So reach out to us and continue to instill in the students that things will be okay. It's different. They learn from us. If we maintain calm, even if it's fire going on in our brains, the children will pick up on that.
Right. Well, great advice. I am so proud of the work of all of our staff members, and I'm so, I think, indebted to our parents who have such confidence and trust in the school district. So I thank you for representing Dodge here today and for giving us some insight into the goings-on of grades 4, 5, and 6, and really the sense of community that you're building, not only for the students on campus, but also for our Virtual Academy students too.
Thank you, Mrs. Powers.
Oh, you're welcome. Well, when we return, we're going to have our second guest, and that will be Mrs. Lisa Moore, and she is the assistant principal at R.B. Chamberlin Middle School. Stick around for some more. Thank you.
During a pandemic, every move you make comes with risk.
I won't be there for long.
We're all like family.
We all feel fine.
Maybe you get away with it once, twice. But what happens when your luck runs out? Until we're all protected, limit your risk and stay safe, Ohio.
Welcome back, everyone, to Twinsburg Schools Today. Today's show is all about how our students are managing through this pandemic. And earlier on, we had on our show Mrs. Iwanda Huggins, who is our assistant principal at George G. Dodge Intermediate School. But now I'd like to welcome Mrs. Lisa Moore. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So you're the assistant principal, one of two actually, at our middle school. But this year, our middle school is not on the middle school campus. All this is very confusing. So can you share with our residents a little bit about the reconfiguration of the middle school and where our middle school students and staff are housed this year?
So R.B. Chamberlin Middle School staff is at Dodge Intermediate School along with our freshmen. So our 9th graders are with us that have just left us from the 8th grade, and they're right back with us again. So they get to see me again.
There you go.
So that really works out great because we've been a great help to the students and to the staff that are working with our 9th graders, which the freshman year is a big transition year for them.
Yeah.
So we've been able to help in a lot of ways with that.
You know, in their wildest dreams, these freshmen would never have thought they'd be back at Dodge
Right.
and back with their middle school administration
Right.
and staff.
Exactly.
Wow. Well, you know, I think as we mentioned on the first part of the show, when we decided to reconfigure, it was all based on safety, making sure that we can assure 6 feet social distance. But even placing the middle school at Dodge this year, we still can't get all of the students there every day. Can you explain how the schedule works for our middle school students?
So our middle school students are every other day. So on opposite days that they're not on campus learning, they're doing blended learning at home. So they're here every other day with us. And then we still have a virtual group that are virtual every day. So there's actually 3 different groups going on in a given day.
That's a lot to manage.
That's a lot.
So when you say that the students, when they're not with you, let's talk about the on-campus students. So the on-campus students, if they were to come to school on a Monday, on Tuesday they're home learning.
Correct.
And so how are they connecting, or do they connect with their teachers, or do they have assignments? What does that look
So
like?
they're doing blended learning, which means that they are doing their assignments. They've just met with the teacher. The teacher does the instruction and may start them out on a project, or they're working in groups, and then on their blended learning days, then they get up and they work on those assignments. So they're all through Google Classroom, and they're working on Google Classroom when they're on campus also. So it's kind of seamless for them. And then our virtual students are doing the same thing every other day too.
But with their own teachers doing
Correct.
the virtual piece.
Well, no, because our teachers do on-campus live teaching and virtual teaching. Our teachers, our staff, I really have to give it to them and I'm very proud of them because they are doing on live classes and virtual in the same day. So they're really doing a lot.
It is a lot. And I guess that's driven by the schedule. Right?
Correct.
Where a teacher at the elementary school has the same group of kids.
Right.
In the case of the middle school, it changes by period, I suppose?
Correct. It changes by period. So most of them have 3 live classes and then 2 or 3 virtual classes, 4 live, or it just depends. So they're teaching 6 periods, but some of them are virtual, some of them are live.
That is a lot for a staff member to manage, and they do it now so it appears easily.
Right.
But it's certainly
Right.
a craft that they have learned over time.
And and they've learned this since the spring.
Yes.
They have learned all of this new technology using Pear Deck, their Google Meets, and now and they're learning actually as technology is changing. So now Google Meet allows you to have breakaway rooms so that the students can work in groups and then come back together and present. I mean, I've seen some fantastic work that our teachers and our students are doing. And the students, well, to them, it's easy basically compared to what the adults, and especially the older ones my age, that are trying to learn this new technology, and they have students doing it. And our staff has just, they've been great at learning this and teaching it, teaching differently than they taught a year ago.
Yeah, so proud of them. So in this world that we're living in now, middle school adolescents traditionally would come to school, and they're stressors, and there's peer relationships, and there's a lot of things that middle school administration really needs to key in on, and the counseling staff and the teaching staff and classified staff. But in the world that we're living in now, with virtual some days, sometimes it's virtual 100% of the time, we've got kids on campus, kids off campus, kids who still want to come on campus for extracurriculars, others who don't. How are we ensuring that our students who may have some social emotional needs are really being helped or intervened upon when those needs become aware to us?
So that's where our PBIS, which is Positive Behavior Interventions and Supports, come in. The middle school age has always been that age where, it's because of the peer pressure, that peer kind of takes over the adult as far as kids are concerned.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where we tend to see the anxiety, the depression spike. So we've already had interventions in place with groups, counseling, one-on-one intervention. Our flagship program is called Check-In, Check-Out. And that's a tier 2 because with PBIS, it's a multi-tiered system of support.
So there are 3 tiers?
We have 3 tiers. So tier 1 is our school-wide tier.
So everybody gets the same?
Everybody gets tier 1. Tier
Okay.
1 is based on our expectations. Everybody has the same expectations: respect, responsibility, and right choices. And then we have consistent, positive language that we use to teach those expectations. And then we have clearly defined consequences for those not meeting them. So tier 1 is all of our students. We have different activities that we're used to doing that we're not able to do, such as the DC trip and the Cedar Point trip for 7th graders. So unfortunately, we probably won't be able to do those things this year, but we do try to reward our students at that school-wide level. We've had drawings for gift cards, and trying to think of things as we go to reward our students, because most of our students are on point doing what they're supposed to do, and they've very resilient, and they've been able to just go with this for the most part. But then you do have your 15%, which is expected to need more interventions, and then that becomes our tier 2. Now, our flagship Check-In, Check-Out program is where we have our staff members, which once again, we have a great staff. We have over 30 staff members that are mentors to individual students.
That's wonderful.
Yes.
Wow.
And so what they do is on the blended learning day, because we had to create something for virtual check-in, check-out, because this was a person-to-person, face-to-face program. So we created this virtual program where our mentors have a student, or some have more, and they meet with them on their blended learning days in a Google Meet, just one-on-one.
Nice.
And they build that relationship. The whole idea is to build that relationship with this student. So this student knows that there is someone with them to help them get through this thing called life right now. So they meet with them on their blended learning days. They let them know, they go through Progress Book together, and they go over what's missing, and
their assignments?
Their assignments that are missing and what they need to do. They help them. If you need to email your teacher, to walk them through, how do you communicate with these adults, that they're not used to doing at younger ages, but now it's time to build that self-advocacy. So, and the communication skills that they need. So we have that going, and then if they set goals with their mentor, like, I'm going to get these assignments in, because remember, this is our struggling group of 15%. And so they say, okay, I'm going to get this and this done this week, and they make that deal with that mentor. And then at the end of the week, when they meet with them again, if they've submitted their assignments like they're supposed to, we have students that just don't submit. I did it all, because you can still be unorganized virtually. So
This is true.
So we have students, they just need that help. They need that adult that's just for them. And so when they reach their goal during the week, then we send them the mentor sends us a form. They fill out a form that their student achieved their goals, and then we send out a digital badge.
Oh, how
And
nice.
the digital badge is a big badge with a tiger, and we let them know that we are proud of them achieving their goals, and their digital badges will add up. So we have a store now, and with the store we have Twinsburg gear, and we have candy and those hot chips and stuff that they like, the stuff that they like. So they'll be able to purchase those things just as an added external motivation for them to complete their work, to stay engaged, in school, because that's been a huge problem that I've seen, and why we're going to elevate maybe about 2% to our tier 3, because they have not been engaged. And not only are they're not engaged, these are some students that had excellent grades last year, you know, and their test scores show that they should be doing well this year. So we know that there's something more to this. Like, they are being affected with anxiety and depression. We've had kids that have gone into the Children's Hospital for extended lengths. So we know that there's a lot going on. We have our, you know, anxiety and depression that spikes at this age, but there are some that are really, you know, trying to figure this out and are having some trouble. So right now we really have to focus on tier 3 with them, on individually, how can we get this kid involved and back in the game.
You know, the check-in, check-out is such a great way, a great intervention, and then it's really all about the relationships that our students have. And kudos to the staff members who are working with the students to help them learn good habits, right? And also just to have a guide on the side. If they have a question, a problem, a concern, there's a go-to person, which is really so great. And a year ago, I remember being on the campus at RBC, and Mr. Reese is one of your check-in, check-out people, your principal, and I happened to be there for an observation, and he was checking in with one of his students. And I thought to myself, how wonderful. He knows so much about this student, and the student clearly knows a lot about his principal, and just the conversation back and forth, and a wonderfully strong relationship, and that's what it takes really to have success. Whether it be in school or in life. And also, you mentioned here the importance of identifying where some students might need the extra, whatever that one-to-one individual assistance is. I really am very grateful to the staff for paying attention, because with that awareness, we can do something to help the students. And it doesn't happen unless we're paying attention to this good work.
And then we had, for instance, we had a student, and nobody's really able to reach the student, and you know, she's not really engaged in her learning. And so the counselor and I, we're looking, and we're trying to figure this student out, and we're like, there is a good grade here, and it's in art. So I emailed the art teacher, would you like to take this kid as a check-in, check-out? And she's like, sure. And so now she's developing a relationship in an area that she enjoys. So now we're able to get this kid engaged, you know. So that's what we've been doing, is trying to get the right matches.
That's awesome. Well, we're coming close to time here. I just wanted to celebrate with you and your staff back home the fact that RB Chamberlin is now a silver award medalist in the world of PBIS. Can you quickly explain what that means to our viewers?
Yes, so we are a silver medal award winner for the Ohio PBIS network. And we were honored virtually this year. We have been, this is our second year, so we have been honored in Columbus, but it was virtual this year, and it's for our implementation of PBIS.
Well, the examples you shared with me today are just icing on the cake of just so many things happening. And congratulations for that recognition. I know you are a huge advocate of PBIS, and when I think of PBIS at the middle school, I always think of you, Mrs. Moore, and all of your efforts to touch the kids where it's most important. It's right in their heart.
Exactly.
Well, thanks for being on my show today.
You are welcome. Glad to be here.
Well, thank you so very much for joining us for Twinsburg Schools today. As you can see, there are so many things going on, so many great things going on, where we ensure that our students are in the middle of so many of our decisions, actually all of our decisions. And we thank you for your support of our school community. And at some point, I hope to be able to see you on campus. Until then, thanks for your virtual support of our students, our staff, and of all of our programs. We hope you have a great day, and I'll see you the next time on Twinsburg Schools Today.